You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Our guest is Simmy Allen. He is the International Director for Yad Vashem, and they are doing a wonderful job making sure the memory of the Holocaust is kept alive. Simmy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Zev.
Now, I know that people pay more attention to Yad Vashem when it comes to Yom HaShoah or it comes to International Holocaust Memorial Day, but really Yad Vashem operates throughout the year and doing some amazing work. So perhaps you can share with us about some of the work that's going on. And then we'll talk about specifically during the special times when the Holocaust is remembered nationally or internationally.
Yeah, 365 days. Yad Vashem is active 365 days a year. In many different formats and forums. Aside from the fact that Yad Vashem's facility, the Mount of Remembrance, and the Holocaust History Museum and the museum complex located at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem is open to the public all year long, Sunday through Friday, pretty much 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It is also active on a very unique manner, in a very unique way on social media. So it's accessible 24/7 on any handheld device all over the world. So Yad Vashem uploads specifically curated content to its website in 8 different languages in order to engage with the public in a very, very unique and very directed manner. Whether it be online exhibitions that we upload that specifically are curated for the online audience, or just regular content that we share via social media, Yad Vashem is active and is online all over and all the time.
Now, certain times of the year, I guess you probably see more traffic, whether it's International Holocaust Remembrance Day or Yom HaShoah, and you partner with groups, including the United Nations, correct?
So what happened the other day in the United Nations is definitely a partnership. We partnered together, or we were invited actually, to display or to inaugurate and open the Yad Vashem Book of Names of Holocaust Victims, a book, a literal installation. It's a huge book that takes up an entire room that contains 4,800,000 names of the victims of the Holocaust that we know of today. The names, dates of birth, places of birth, and places of death for the 6 million Jews, but we only have in our database at the moment 4,800,000 names. We still have upwards of 1.2 million names left to go to uncover and to restore the identities to these nameless victims. And that was opened the other day in the United Nations in New York, together with the UN Secretary General and Yad Vashem Chairman Danny Dayan.
Now, let me ask you this question. You said you have 1.2 million names yet to acquire. I would assume that each year that goes by, it's more difficult to get those additional names. So how are you looking to obtain them?
Well, it is definitely, Zev, you are very much correct. It is a race against the clock to get and to gather the names. It's not acquiring. They aren't to be purchased. They're to be discovered. They're to be
uncovered. Means of getting,
They're to be uncovered. This is a meticulous work that Yad Vashem for the past 70 years, 7 decades, really. In fact, even before the inception of Yad Vashem was officially created, the gathering of names was something that was the first question many survivors had after the war, looking for their loved ones, trying to start to rebuild their families, to locate anyone who was left alive. And the lists of names that were created in order to locate, those were the first sources of the names of victims of the Holocaust, because unfortunately many of them were not alive at the end of the war. And so these names were gathered and were uncovered and discovered and restored so that we can create a central database of Shoah victims' names, which is the basis of what is now on display in a book form, in a tangible memorial that could be looked at and touched in a very, very important and very impactful manner, now on display at the UN.
Now, I know that you have you say you have 1.2 million you're looking to find. I won't use the word acquire, but from what I understand, the 6 million may not be an accurate number. From what I've been read, it might even be higher than that. It might be closer to 7 million.
The number 6 million is a statistical analysis, statistical figure that historians are much better capable of answering than myself. But it's a number that is and has been used even during the Holocaust as the number of murdered Jews based on population statistics before and after the war. It could be upwards of up above 6 million, around 6 million, a little below 6 million. We're trying to uncover every last Jew that was murdered, every last name that was that was obliterated and erased from existence, and that's what our job here at Yad Vashem is.
So let me ask you a question. So let's talk tachlis. How are you going about finding these names of people? Memory being blurred, people have passed away. So how are you able to get more names at this late point, so many years after the Holocaust?
A race against the clock, as I said before. A race against the clock to get the names from the few living survivors that are still with us, and thankfully so, and their family members, to collect the names from many different sources in the communities. Yad Vashem has engaged many different projects to go to cemeteries, Batei Midrashot, to look through books, the religious books. Many of them have dedications on their pages in memory of victims of the Holocaust, and that is one source and one way that Yad Vashem is gathering the names. Yad Vashem continues to gather every year hundreds of pages of testimony, which is a very important campaign that Yad Vashem has been engaged with over the last 70 years to collect these biographical pages of testimony that list the names of the victims of the Holocaust. And the last manner, and what maybe possibly the most important one right now in this day and age, as the Holocaust survivor generation is aging, is our work within the archival communities. Yad Vashem is now engaged and is now in the Vatican archives, and hopefully we will be able to gather and collect names that are stored in that archives. And in all over the world, the archives are a treasure trove of information, of data, and of the names of Holocaust victims that once were and no longer are, because their lives were cut short and stolen from us.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the Vatican archives. From what I understand, and I don't have any numbers, I'm not sure if they exist, but there were a certain category of Jews that after the Holocaust was over, decided to abandon Judaism, to convert to Christianity especially, so they would just live their lives as non-Jews. And I'm not sure if we have any numbers of that, but some of them may not have registered as a survivor with Yad Vashem. We may not even have that information about who these people are.
Sure, that's a very common phenomenon, especially amongst children, young children that were in a very a selfless act of kindness and of a desperate act to save their loved ones, their beloved children. Parents gave their children to monasteries and to convents to be hidden and rescued, and but their families never returned because they were murdered, and they were not able to come back at the end of the war to rescue them. Many of them, yes, are lost to us. Those are not the names that we're looking for in the archives that I mentioned in the Vatican. No, the Vatican is a treasure trove of documentation of Jews that were seeking rescue, but also just of archival information from the time of the Holocaust, and that's something that Yad Vashem is engaged with. I can't tell you what we're going to find. It's just the fact that we're there is what is important. The fact that Yad Vashem is on the ground in Rome and sorting through these pages of archival documents. That's what is the most important thing.
So, which is great that they're allowing you to go through the archive relating to the Holocaust. Do you have full access to all the Holocaust archive? Because there's been some controversy regarding that, especially to the role of the Pope. Is that something that you have access to as well?
Well, we have the opening of the archive a year and a half ago was for the Pope the specific Pope archives. And Yad Vashem, actually, Yad Vashem chairman Danny Dayan met with His Holiness the Pope Francis back in, I believe, in April or May of last year, and the Vatican gave its 100% support to Yad Vashem's efforts to gather information. In fact, I believe that the Pope told Yad Vashem chairman Danny Dayan that the Vatican is not afraid of history. In fact, it embraces it. And so we are hoping and looking forward to seeing the result of the efforts of Yad Vashem's archivists in the Vatican over the next couple of years. It takes time. It's an arduous and it's a meticulous effort to comb through these pages of documentation, and we definitely need to do it, and we're doing it, and we need to be patient while that information is being.
How large of a staff is in the archives doing this research?
I don't know that. I don't have that information.
I'm just curious. We're speaking with Simmy Allen. He is the International Media Director for Yad Vashem. They're preserving the memory of the Holocaust, and they operate every day of the year. You can find their information. A lot of the stuff is online, it's digital. So tell us about that whole process and how much information is constantly added, and what can people find when they look for Yad Vashem online?
Well, Yad Vashem's website in 8 different languages is chock full of information. The information stored is both historic as well as curated content for specific around specific themes. And then also we have our databases. Yad Vashem is a mountain of information. It sits on a lot of information, 220 million pages of Holocaust-related documentation collection that is the world's largest. And millions of those pages, tens of millions of those pages have been uploaded and made available in different formats in different ways. Yad Vashem has a central database of Shoah victims' names, which we mentioned before, as well as a database of deportations, which lists the deportations from Western Europe, countries like Belgium and France, out east. So the deportations of Jews from France and from Belgium and from all of pretty much all of Western Europe, occupied Western Europe, to the camps, to the death camps in the east, are now available and searchable on Yad Vashem's website. We also have a database of soldiers, of Jewish soldiers and officers in the Red Army, and tell their stories, which is such an important story, because we need to also show how Jews helped each other, not only in the camps, but also helped to liberate and to help to fight against the Nazis. And the last, another database is Our Untold Stories. It's a database of the Holocaust, as has been recently coined, the Holocaust by bullets. The Holocaust that took place in Eastern Europe. These are where Einsatzgruppen, the troops that were the Nazi SS troops that combed through Eastern Europe and rounded up Jews in different shtetl all over occupied Soviet Union, and gathered those individuals to be murdered. In many of them, communities and families in total were wiped out in a matter of minutes and hours. And those stories are now being told also through our Untold Stories database. And these are just a few of the treasures that Yad Vashem's website contains.
Simmy, what is your biggest challenge working with as media director for Yad Vashem?
Our biggest challenge is to get the message out, to have the media pay attention to the Holocaust, tell the stories, whether there are survivors left or whether there are no survivors to tell the stories. Yad Vashem is the witness, and the men and women that work at Yad Vashem that give their lives and give their hearts to this story are the witnesses to their stories. We have to remember that while there are many survivors still with us, and thankfully so, we are grateful to them and to their contribution to Holocaust commemoration and awareness. 6 million victims never had the opportunity to give their testimony, and so the documents and the pages that Yad Vashem stores in its vast archives those are the testimonies of those victims. And the Book of Names, to quote Bronya Brandman, a Holocaust survivor who was present yesterday in the UN and saw the book and went to see specifically the book. She provided 35 of her family members, 35 pages of testimony, 35 names, and she located those names in the Book of Names yesterday. She said that after all the Holocaust survivors are no longer with us, the book will remain. And Bronya's statement, the book is an everlasting witness to the murder of 6 million Jews, and that is what will be remembered.
No, it's certainly so important. I want to know about Yad Vashem's effort, let's say in the Arab world, the Arab sector in Israel, also the Arab world. Is there more awareness, or I know that's probably one of the toughest areas to get the Yad Vashem message to?
Yad Vashem has been engaging with in the Arab world for many years already. In fact, I believe 7 years ago, Yad Vashem opened a website in both Arabic and Farsi. And so the content is up, the content is there, and we have been working together, especially since the Abraham Accords. We've been hosting groups from the United Arab Emirates to Yad Vashem, coming to Israel in order to learn and to understand the culture of Jewish culture, Judaism. And one of those factors, one of those elements is to understand and to know about the Holocaust. And so we've been working together with groups and with educational groups and cultural exchange groups. And we hope to be doing more, and we hope that will, over the next few years, will increase.
No, it's certainly an important area, and I would assume even in Israel, do we have any statistics how many Israeli Arabs are visiting Yad Vashem?
No, it's not a statistic that I'm aware of, but we do. We work together in Arab schools, and we are hoping to increase that activity over the next couple of years.
Simmy, I know you're originally from Oceanside, New York. How'd you end up getting involved working for Yad Vashem?
The Holocaust was something that I, from a very early age, think due to having a survivor grandfather, was something that was very close to my heart. And on Yom HaShoah 2015, I believe, or 2014, I was watching together with my wife the ceremony on television for Yom HaShoah taking place at Yad Vashem, and I turned to her and I said, "Wow, that's something that I really is a job that I really think is something I really would love to do one day. I think that it's an amazing mission." And several months later, I was working at Yad Vashem. So it's been a true honor to work together with the men and women at Yad Vashem, to also to be a voice to the victims and to help tell the stories of the survivors as well.
No, it's so important. What did you do prior to Yad Vashem?
Many different things.
But this one seems to be your passion.
Yes, definitely.
Because I know, and we have to do a lot more work, even in the religious community. I believe we have more work to do with Holocaust education, especially some of the Haredi yeshivas. It's just they have just so little knowledge of what happened. I think that's one of the new challenges that I believe we face. And I don't know if Yad Vashem is addressing that. I don't know what it's like in Israel. I assume it's probably the same in Israel too.
So Yad Vashem, actually, in our International School for Holocaust Studies, have specific departments that are dedicated to engage both the Jewish world, the yeshivas, or what we call the modern Orthodox yeshiva day schools, as well as the more Haredi world, both in Israel as well as in the United States and all over the world as well, to bring them the information. We have specially curated lesson plans to meet their needs and to address the topic in a way that they can definitely feel comfortable in teaching. It's a work in progress, but I believe that we are definitely doing a lot of good and reaching a lot of good results in those areas.
So if people want to learn more information about Yad Vashem, what's the best way for them to learn?
The best way is to follow us on social media. Yad Vashem is active on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, even for those teachers who are listening, and as well as to go on our website, www.yadvashem.org, to learn more about Yad Vashem, to not only learn more about Yad Vashem, but really to learn about the history of the Holocaust, and to visit, to come when next time that you're in Israel, come by, stop by, make a reservation, and come in and see what there is on display at Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem is not something that is if you've seen it once, you don't need to see it again. It's constantly being updated, constantly changing. We have a museum of Holocaust art that's every 6 months being changed, some of the displays, and we have an exhibition that is always being switched up. Right now the temporary exhibition is Flashes of Memory. It's been on display since 2018, but and hopefully the next starting on March 28th, you'll be able to see the Book of Names that is now on display in the UN will be coming to Yad Vashem for permanent installation at Yad Vashem.
Can one access the Book of Names online too?
You can access the Book of Names through the central database of Shoah victims' names, which is available also, as I said, in 6 languages.
Simmy Allen, the National Media Director for Yad Vashem, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for keeping the memory of the Holocaust alive, so important today. And it's great to see that you and your generation are so involved in making sure the memory doesn't get lost. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Zev.
Thank you for tuning in to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.